Of the book, What I Believe, the correspondence evoked by it, letters from Quakers, Garrison's Declaration, Adin Ballou, his works, his catechism, Helchitsky's Net of Faith, the attitude of the world to works elucidating Christ's teaching, Diamond's book on war, Musser's Nonresistance Asserted, attitude of the government in 1818 to men who refused to serve in the army, hostile attitude of governments generally and of liberals to those who refuse to assist in acts of state violence, and their conscious efforts to silence and suppress these manifestations of Christian non-resistance. Among the first responses called forth by my book were some letters from American Quakers. In these letters, expressing their sympathy with my views on the unlawfulness for a Christian of war and the use of force of any kind, the Quakers gave me details of their own so-called sect, which, for more than 200 years, has actually professed the teaching of Christ on non-resistance to evil by force, and does not make use of weapons in self-defense. The Quakers sent me books, from which I learned how they had, years ago, established beyond doubt the duty for a Christian of fulfilling the command of non-resistance to evil by force, and had exposed the error of the Church's teaching in allowing war and capital punishment. In a whole series of arguments and texts showing that war, that is, the wounding and killing of men, is inconsistent with a religion founded on peace and goodwill toward men, the Quakers maintain and prove that nothing has contributed so much to the obscuring of Christian truth in the eyes of the heathen, and has hindered so much the diffusion of Christianity through the world, as the disregard of this command by men calling themselves Christians, and the permission of war and violence to Christians. Christ's teaching, which came to be known by men, not by means of violence and the sword, they say, but by means of non-resistance to evil, gentleness, meekness, and peaceableness, can only be diffused through the world by the example of peace, harmony, and love among its followers. A Christian, according to the teaching of God himself, can act only peaceably toward all men, and therefore there can be no authority able to force the Christian to act in opposition to the teaching of God and to the principal virtue of the Christian in his relation with his neighbors. The law of state necessity, they say, can force only those to change the law of God who, for the sake of earthly gains, try to reconcile the irreconcilable. But for a Christian who sincerely believes that following Christ's teaching will give him salvation, such considerations of state can have no force.